And we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Chris. Almost knocked my microphone over. Hope everybody's doing okay. Crazy week again. My kids are off of school for 3.5 days. Most kids around here have been off all week. Crazy. Okay, before I start answering questions and talking about everything we're doing, I do want to talk a little bit about Don Lemon, my former colleague at CNN. Also an independent journalist now. If you missed the news, and I see some people asking about this in the comments, so I'm just going to address it right at the top because I think it's the biggest news. I really haven't talked that much about it yet. Excuse me, and then I'll get into everything else. I wrote a piece for my Substack last week asking, is Don Lemon a journalist? But basically, it was after there was talk by the Trump administration of trying to arrest him because of the part he played in sort of a bunch of protesters barged into a church in Minneapolis where they thought an ICE agent was the pastor, is basically the long and short of it. And there is a law in the books that says, you can't disrupt church services, for good reason, right? I mean, it's a dangerous thing. And Don's argument was like, look, I was a journalist. I covered this. I talked to the pastor, which he did. And my point in writing that piece was not to take shots at Don, not to take shots at the Trump administration, but to say, look, in this new media age, it's hard to decide who's a journalist because there's no like test you pass or card you have. It's not like getting a driver's license. It's not like being an attorney, right? You don't have to pass the bar. And there's no set of standards. Like Don is much more partisan than I am. I mean, Don is an antagonist of Donald Trump. Does that also mean he does journalistic things? He does do journalistic things too. But, it's different than how I would define it. Okay. I say all that as a lead up to, I guess, Thursday night. Don was in Los Angeles. He was supposed to be doing red carpet stuff in advance of the Grammys, and he was arrested. It's not at all clear to me. I've tried to read a bunch of stuff. It's not at all clear to me why exactly he was arrested. I have Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, put out her explanation so far is this. I'm quoting her. At my direction, early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon, Traherne Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamel Liddell Lundy in connection with the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. So the two words that are critical in there is coordinated attack. That, first of all, attack is doing a lot in that. If you've seen the video, I'm not sure it was an attack. I'm not saying this doesn't mean a law wasn't broken, but I'm sure it was an attack. And then coordinated, again, I feel like that's doing a lot given what we've seen. I don't know the exact details of the law, which about in getting in or raiding or rushing or going into churches during services. So I will admit that. Do I think, generally speaking, that what we know about this case suggests that this is a significant overreach by the Trump administration, the DOJ? Yes. I don't know how else we could conclude anything else. A federal magistrate judge ruled last week that Don shouldn't be arrested for this, that he was playing the role of a journalist. We have since learned from Carol Leonnig, my old friend at the Washington Post, who is now a reporter at MS Now, a great investigative reporter, that prosecutors in both Minneapolis and California refused to be involved in the arrests and the indictments of Don, as well as Georgia Fort, who's another independent journalist who was arrested in Minneapolis. So all of that suggests to me that like people who are experts in the law suggest that this is a big overreach. A friend of mine who's a lawyer texted me to say this is way above and beyond the law. Look, it seems to me pretty obvious that Donald Trump doesn't like Don Lemon. Don Lemon has been very antagonistic to Donald Trump publicly. And Donald Trump wanted to, he saw an opening to get Don Lemon, this what they are calling a coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota last week. And he took it against the advice of plenty of lawyers and judges. I don't think we should be surprised by it. But I think it is dangerous. Yeah. I mean, again, it's really hard because Don is the way that we define journalist is really broadened, right? It can be almost anyone with a camera or a phone. So it's hard, I think, in that regard, because, is he an activist? Is he an activist journalist, or is he a journalist? And how much difference in this day and age is there between them? I mean, I like to try to preserve the idea that I'm not an activist. I am a journalist, but I know lots of people who are partisans on the right and the left who consider themselves journalists. So it's really, really hard. All that said, I think it's a dangerous thing when experts in the law, prosecutors, a federal judge say there's not enough here to charge Don Lemon, and they arrest him anyway. I mean, that kind of worries me. And the idea of arresting someone who I think probably winds up being a journalist, if I had to pick between journalist and not for Don, I think that's really, really, really a dangerous precedent. All right, I've gone on for 6 minutes about that. That's my thoughts on Don. I'm happy to take other questions about it. Obviously it's a developing story. So I only know what I read. I've not been in contact with Don. We are acquaintances. We are not friends. And I don't mean we're not friends. I just don't know him all that well. All right. So welcome. It is Friday. This is my live stream that I do every single Friday for subscribers to the channel, which are now over 166,000 people, which is amazing. Thank you for your support. The way this works is simple. You ask questions, I answer questions. If you want to support me via the super chat, you can do that. I will bump your question up to the top, make sure it gets answered. Any donation you make goes directly to me and my attempts to build a career as an independent journalist. So that includes the super chat. That includes the Diamond Club, which is my paid tier on YouTube. I just posted, right before I came on here, I just posted my worst week in Washington video, where I picked the person, place, or thing that had the worst week. That is exclusive every Friday for members of the Diamond Club. You also exclusively get the full video podcast of my conversation every Monday, sometimes every Tuesday, with Chuck Todd, former NBC anchor and Meet the Press host. You'll also get a video or two, usually every week. In addition, this week I talked to Rachel Bade, former author of Politico's Playbook, now out on her own. She hosts a show called The Huddle every morning on YouTube. She also has a Substack called The Inner Circle. So you'll get all of that in addition to all the other videos that I post. If you want to join, just go to the membership tab on my page. MJ Hudson is a new member of the Diamond Club. Welcome, MJ. Other ways you can support me. Super chat, as I mentioned. Go to my Substack where I do most of my writing. You can become a paid subscriber there, $6 a month, $60 a year. You want to just make a donation? Buymeacoffee.com. Search my name. You can literally buy me a coffee or tea. Okay, here we go. Let's get started. Ben Woolman. Ben, thank you for your donation via Super Chat. Thank you for supporting independent journalism. Ben says, hey, Chris, do you use a script when you record your videos? And two, what kind of light do you use? Thanks for the great work. I don't use a script, Ben. When I first started doing this after I got laid off from CNN, I was writing a script and then using my phone as a teleprompter. They have apps that you can do that with. But it felt too stilted and too kind of TV-y. I guess it's not really a word, but you know what I mean. So I stopped doing that. Now I write notes down. I have my handy dandy Post-it notes. I write notes down that I want to kind of hit, like key points or facts I want to not forget, research I don't necessarily have in the old brain. But I don't do a script. As for the light, hold on. See if I can. It's just one of these. What brand is this? It's called a panel light. I got it on Amazon. I don't even know what brand it is. I'm sorry. But these are not expensive. It just helps you. It helps keep you well lit, right? And then the other lights are just above my head and the ones behind me. So, look, it's not perfect. There's not light on this side of my face, but we do what we can. Let me move it back. But Ben, that's the answer. I put it back behind my monitor. It still kind of gets in my glasses, but what are you going to do? Okay. Let's see. Busy doing nothing channel. Wow. Okay. Hi, Chris. I believe DJT, Donald J. Trump, is suing the IRS and U.S. Treasury regarding his tax returns. He is. $10 billion is such a nice round number. Is this another step in changing balance and personalization of U.S. political system? Thanks. Now, I mean, look, Donald Trump has, throughout his life, prior to entering politics and now in politics, he has used the legal system as a cudgel, right? He's rich. And so he uses the legal system as a way to, when he wants to, delay things, like his tax returns and all that sort of stuff. And when he wants to, just kind of muck things up and make it confusing and maybe get settlements out of people because they don't want to be bothered with years of lawsuits. I give you the CBS and ABC News settlements, right? Paramount and Disney settled frivolous lawsuits that Trump had filed because they just didn't want to fight with him, right? And I think they probably didn't want in Discovery some email where someone who works at ABC was like, Donald Trump sucks. Probably would be my guess. But yeah, that's why he does it. I mean, I don't think there's no secret there. Justin Ziegler, who is already a member of the Diamond Club and has been so for 1 month. Justin says, do you think Josh Shapiro could be a massive player in the 28 race with him up for re-election in a swing state and recent comments on Kamala Harris? Yeah, Justin, I do. First of all, thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. I do think Shapiro is a major player. I'm actually coming out with my top 10 2028 Democrats. I'm going to do it early next week. I've been meaning to do it and haven't gotten to it. And I think Shapiro is going to be in the top 3. And the reason for that is, look, Republicans have a real nominee against him in Pennsylvania, but I think he's going to win. It's a good year to be a Democrat. It looks like it's going to be a good year. So I think he'll be fine there. I actually think his comments about Kamala Harris and distancing himself from Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, which he keeps doing, is smart. I don't think there's going to be a lot of appetite for Democrats who want a repeat of what they saw from 2020 to 2024. And particularly what they saw in 2024. And if there are those Democrats, they'll probably vote for Kamala Harris, right, if she's in the race. So I actually think Shapiro has been smart about how he's positioned himself to date. We'll see if it continues. And he does, as you point out, he does have to win another term, right? He does have a race in November. I would assume he'll win that and quickly pivot to running for president. Tara Reed, not that Tara Reed. How have you been spending time during the Northern Virginia ice storm this week? Tara, it has been a nightmare. As I said, my kids didn't go to school. They had 3 days off and then a half day or a 2-hour late opening yesterday. This is their first full day back at school. The public schools around here have been off all week. They're off all 5 days. It's not been great. I went out about halfway through Monday as it was snowing and sleeting and shoveled. And then I left it because I thought, okay, well, I'll go back out there. Well, little did I know it was going to turn into literal like blocks of ice. So it's been a disaster. I mean, the roads still are not great. The sidewalks are terrible. I mean, it has just been really, really bad. Welcoming again, MJ Hudson. Thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. If you are interested in the Diamond Club, if you want more from me, go to the membership tab on my channel, the main page of my channel. And by the way, anyone who's got a little green on their handle, they're members of the Diamond Club. If you want to say what you like, maybe what you don't like, feel free. Sam JLG, hi, Chris. Is no way Cabinet Secretary X survives this the new no way Trump survives this? Yeah, Sam. So I think you have two things, like with Kristi Noem, who I know you're obviously asking about. I think you have two things working against one another. On the one hand, she got Donald Trump a ton of bad press. Like trusting in Greg Bovino was clearly a dumb decision that anyone who knows anything about politics could have seen a mile away. All right. On the other hand, there's Republican senators Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski, as well as lots of Democrats calling for him to fire her or for her to resign. Well, Trump hates all those people, right? He hates them. He hates elite opinion makers. And so he kind of wants to he doesn't want to give in to them, which makes me think that if he's going to get rid of Noem, it probably won't be like today, tomorrow, or this weekend. It might be like in a week or two that it'll just be like Kristi Noem has resigned for other great opportunities or something, like, because he doesn't want to be seen as giving in. I do, however, think Trump is genuinely undecided about whether to get rid of her or not. Look, the fact that he didn't take questions, first of all, he didn't call on her during the cabinet meeting. He could have easily called on her, let her praise what ICE is doing, whatever. and then be like, you're doing a great job. He didn't do that. Then he didn't take questions at the end of the cabinet meeting, which he always does. Then he didn't take questions at this addiction event he did in the Oval Office after that, which he would always do. And the reason for that, I think, is simple. He knows the first question from any reporter is going to be, are you going to fire Kristi Noem? And if he had an answer like no, he would take the question and answer it. I don't think he has an answer, which is why I think he doesn't want to take the question just yet. Hive Leg. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for supporting independent journalism. Hiveleg says, what gives you hope these days? It seems like the world is going through a lot of destabilization. So what keeps you sane? Thank you for your great work. That's very kind. I think we are going through a huge amount of destabilization. I think the political world, the media content world, the sort of our value systems, where we stand in the world vis-a-vis, America and the rest of the world. I think all of those things are shifting. I think there's a huge amount of uncertainty there. I think we've lost faith in a lot of the institutions, whether it's the church or the military or schools or the media or politicians. I think we've lost a lot of trust in the institutions we once did, and nothing's come to replace that. What gives me hope? I every day interact with people who are either journalists or people who are just consumers of journalism, who say to me, keep doing what you're doing. And this is not my Donald Trump, like many people come up to me crying, big guys saying, sir, you're the best. No, it's not like everyone's like, hey, Chris, you're doing an amazing job. No, but I think what I find is there is a group of people who say, thank you. We need to carve out a middle space. We can't just have partisans on one side and partisans on the other side. We have to have some ball and strike callers. I don't agree with all your ball and strike calls, but I'm glad you're trying to do it. Every single day I have one conversation or one interaction like that. And it just makes me think there are a lot more of those kind of people out there than we think there are. And I'm just always trying to connect those people. That's sort of what I view as my job and my goal. That's what keeps me going. What keeps you going? Rich Reviews too. Rich, thank you for supporting independent journalism through the super chat. Rich says, of the films nominated for Best Picture of this year, how many of them have you seen? What do you think will or should win? Oh boy, Rich, you're not going to be happy with me. I definitely have seen none. Best Picture nominees. I don't think I've seen any. Now, that doesn't mean I won't see any. Let's see. Let me just look at these here. Actor and a lead. No, I need Best Picture, film editing. God, there are too many categories. Production design. I'm scrolling. Best. Let me search picture. Okay. Begonia, have not seen, won't see, I don't think. F1, have not seen, might see. Frankenstein, have not seen, probably won't see. Hamnet, have not seen, did read the book on which it's based and loved it. Marty Supreme, have not seen, probably will see. One Battle After Another, have not seen, probably will see. The Secret Agent, I don't even know what that's about. Sentimental Value, I don't know what that's about. Sinners, I'll probably see that because it got like 16 Oscar nominations. Train Dreams is on Netflix. I probably will see that. So I probably will wind up seeing about 5 or 6 of them. I know that's not great, but I got to do what I do. Okay. Vandy says, I sometimes miss the days where nothing happened in politics. That made me chuckle. Shannon Arthur, who is a member of the Diamond Club. Shannon says, Thomas Jefferson, the only security of all is in a free press. I totally agree. Again, it's a slippery slope. I think it's easy to be like, oh, Don Lemon is not a journalist. Not really. Okay. But like, then like, what if they arrested me? Would you say like, well, I mean, he's just an independent guy. He's not really a journalist. I just think there is a slippery slope problem there. Let's see. Sherry Zimmerman. Chris, please explain why the president is having such beef with the Super Bowl this year. Have you seen the trailer with the baby Clydesdales? It is to die for. Go Seahawks. I didn't know that he was having a beef with the Super Bowl. I know he's not going because he said it was too far away, which is hilarious, but I didn't know he was having a beef. Matt Davidson, realtor, who is a member of the Diamond Club. Chris, what is your take on the Don Lemon arrest? Is this intimidation or did he break the law? I know you know him, so your take really matters. Thoughts. So, Matt, I hope you caught the beginning where I laid it out. I do know Don, although I always hate when media people act like everyone in the media is their best friend. I do know him. I was on his show a bunch of times on CNN. I've corresponded with him a few times over the years. We are not like close. We're not close. Yeah, I always say when you say like we're not close, people are like, oh, they hate each other. Not at all. I don't think Don spends a lot of time thinking about me. But what I would say is I try to make the point that I think this is a slippery slope. I think it is dangerous. I don't know the exact legal protocols, but it seems to me that people who do know the exact legal protocols, prosecutors in Minnesota and California, a magistrate judge, have already said there's not enough there to charge Don Lemon. And yet we're charging Don Lemon. That worries me. Lewis Lloyd. Lewis, thank you for donation and supporting independent journalism. Chris, Lewis says, Chris, if they arrest you, I don't mind paying your bail. You don't know what the bail is set at. Let's see. Sabim Wifa. Hey, Chris, are you aware of the Civic Pulse YouTube channel? Looks like a knockoff of your channel to me. Thank you. Yes, you are one of several people who have flagged this to me. I have flagged a copyright. I asked YouTube what to do. If you're not familiar, this is just a channel with like 52 subscribers that just like takes my videos, which so I filed a copyright notice. Hopefully it will be taken care of. I am aware of it. Thank you so much for your help. Let's see. Brian Verhey, do you think the feds are trying to escalate, or is it just poor leadership slowing down progress? I don't know, Brian, I don't know exactly what is that in reference. Tell me what it's in reference to and I'll answer it. I'm sorry. John Ackerberg. John, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Are there any guardrails in place to be sure Trump doesn't insert fake docs or data proving himself right in the Fulton County 2020 election data? Well, so for people who haven't followed, I made a video about this, but for people who haven't followed, on Wednesday, the FBI executed a search warrant and basically collected 700 boxes of election results from Fulton County, which is basically Atlanta, Georgia, from the 2020 election. At this point, I think we've seen a manual, we've seen a computer recount, we've seen an automatic recount, we've seen a manual hand-by-hand recount, we've seen the Republican Secretary of State and the Republican governor say there's no there. We've seen Bill Barr, who was the Attorney General in 2020, after the election say, we haven't found any evidence of widespread voter fraud. We've seen all of the claims that Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump made about Georgia and the election results debunked. So it would be hard for me if all of a sudden it was like, oh no, actually there were all these stolen ballots. Could they do that? I mean, I rule nothing out, but I think you have to look at the preponderance of evidence. We already know says there was nothing untoward there. But yeah. Let's see. Brett Green, Chris, regarding the Dem Senate primary race in Texas, do you think both candidates will harm each other so much whoever wins it will be much weaker in the general? I don't. Brett, I mean, I think they're going to hit each other a little bit. The primary is basically in a month. It's March 3rd. I think it's close. I saw a poll this week that had it within 1 point between James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. I still think if it's that close right now, Tallarico will probably win because he's got a ton of money. And I think he's probably the less well-known of the two candidates. So he's got more room to grow. But no, look, it's a March primary, right? I mean, Republicans are going to have a March primary and then a runoff 6 weeks or 2 months later. So they've got more potential worry, I think, of doing damage for the general election. But people have a very short attention span and a short memory. I don't think it will be that big a deal. Sherry Zimmerman says, hit the thumbs up. Yes, we have 350 people, which is amazing live in this live stream, which is awesome. Keep going up, but hit that thumbs up if you can. Brad David, who is a member of the Diamond Club. And if you want to become a member of the Diamond Club and have me bark at you, who wouldn't? Go to the membership tab. You get my conversation with Chuck Todd every Monday exclusively as a member of the Diamond Club. You also get every Friday. I just posted this before I came on, my pick for worst week in Washington in a video. Brad David, in politics, is a governor of a state or a U.S. senator a more prestigious job? Great question. It kind of depends on the person. Some people always want to be in the Senate. It's a long, long history, world's greatest deliberative body and all that. I would say right now, most politicians, if you gave them a choice, would pick governor. I think there's a reason that Amy Klobuchar, who's the number 3 ranking Democratic leader in the Senate, is leaving to run for governor of Minnesota. Tommy Tuberville, not really ever really a fit in the Senate, but is leaving to run for governor of Alabama. Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado, is leaving to run for governor of Colorado. I just think it's a little less partisan a job. You can do some more things in the job. It's more hands-on. And I don't think being in Washington is particularly fun, even in the Senate at this point. So my guess, Brad, would be 80% of the people who are in a position to choose between governor and Senate right now would choose governor. TDAV 707. I had a DC question. I've heard rumblings that there's a car race in the streets of DC. Makes me think of his parade last year and was wondering how the project was getting paid for. Planned auto race. I've heard rumblings too, but I haven't heard it announced yet. Man, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Because I don't totally know how that would work. It's a labyrinthian city. Thomas Davenport, who is one of the original members of the Diamond Club. Thomas says, "Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you had a better week than Kristi Noem." Well said. Herbert Hinders, if you were a betting man, would you put money on the Dems taking the Senate? So it's interesting. It's, Herbert, it's not a 50-50 bet right now. I think you can probably get pretty decent odds on these betting sites on the Democrats taking the Senate. I think it's only at like a 33 or 34% chance. I think that is a good money bet, because I think there's about a 4 in 10 chance if everything goes right. And then even if it goes up a little bit, you can sell off of that. So it depends. If it was a straight up or down bet, no odds, no line, no. But if it was 3-1, yeah, I would take that. Let's see. Alexander Hall says that he saw the Civic Pulse copy as well, and he emailed me, and I also reported it to YouTube. Yes, Alex, you are the first person who actually sent it to me. I've since sent it along, so thank you guys. Sir Duck 93, who is a member of the Diamond Club. Hey, Chris, is there a potential constitutional amendment that you think has a real chance of being ratified within the next 10 to 15 years? No. And I'll tell you, I think that's a bad thing. I mentioned this before. I've talked about this book before, We the People by Jill Lepore. It came out in 2025. It's about the origins of the Constitution. And one of the arguments that she makes, one of her central arguments, is that the Constitution was meant to be amended. That was part of the point, and that we have not amended it in a really long time. And the process to amend it, the bar is super high. So no, I don't think it will, but I think that's a bad thing. Honestly, Sam Schmidt, who is a 6-month member of the Diamond Club. Sam says, "Happy Friday, all. How long do we think this government shutdown will last? My over-under is 14 days. I take the under, Sam. If we have a government shutdown, which I think we might, but if we do, I would bet it's the weekend. And then I would say 3.5 days would be my over-under. But thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. Richard Fillmore. How likely do you think Jon Stewart running on the Democratic ticket in 2028 is, and how do you think it would go? I think very unlikely. I know people talk about it. I made a video about it a few months ago about the possibility. Look, he'd obviously get attention if he got into the race because everybody knows his name. I don't think he's interested in running for office. I mean, I could be convinced otherwise, but it's harder than it looks, and it's nastier than it looks. I think he has a pretty great life right now, and I don't know why you would throw running for office into there. If he ran, I think he'd be like a 2nd to 3rd tier candidate. Could he raise enough money? I don't think he's up there with Gavin Newsom or AOC or Josh Shapiro. He's also a lot better known than, say, California Congressman Ro Khanna, who's probably going to run for president. So I'm in between. Evan Van Reese. Hi, Chris. As a Minnesota resident who grew up in the Twin Cities areas, I am deeply concerned about what is happening in my state. Without sugarcoating anything, how do you think this nightmare concludes? Well, Evan, I feel it. I feel you. I think this week was a step in the right direction. I know plenty of people don't like Tom Homan, but he's a real person. Like, he's not a clown like Bovino, you know what I mean? It's like, it just like clearly in over his head. Homan has been at high levels in Democratic and Republican administrations. I think he's a serious person. I don't think that means that they're going to abandon the policy of trying to deport people who are here illegally, particularly people who committed crimes. But I think you've already seen a scaling back in the rhetoric. I think you've seen a scaling back in kind of the approach. I know I've heard from people in the state, they say there's still a lot of aggressive tactics being used. Hopefully that scales back some. I know the Trump administration doesn't want to keep talking about this. They know they've lost the sort of plot and lost the public opinion when it comes to this. But I don't know. I mean, a couple weeks, I hope. Anyway, Dragonfire, are you going to get the cyclone bomb? I heard that there's some kind of like weather cyclone. I don't think we are. It is cold as hell here. I've got my space heater running below me. It's like 20 out right now, and it's been 20 all week, which has not helped with the melting of the snow. But I don't think we're getting that. Let's see. Joe Rule. Hey, Chris, love you. Thank you. Would love your take on Don Lemon. I think it was discussing what he did, but is it unlawful? Can he be charged? I mean, this is where my lack of a law degree hurts me. Several prosecutors we know from reporting turned down prosecuting Don because they didn't think there was a case. A federal magistrate judge last week said he shouldn't be prosecuted. There wasn't a case. Did the Trump White House get a grand jury to indict him so that they could arrest him? It seems like they did, although we don't totally know enough details right now. Can you get a grand jury to approve a lot of things? Yes, everybody knows that. It's the old like indict a ham sandwich thing, right? So I don't know. I really don't. Tabby D. For 28, it appears it's either Shapiro or Newsom. Shapiro is centrist with bipartisan appeal. Newsom has started power and charisma. Who do you see winning the primary? Well, I would not rule it down to just those two, to be honest. I think those are two of the top contenders, but I don't know that it's just the two of them. I think AOC has something to say about that as well. The left will have something to say. Newsom is not a pure creature of the left, and I think that will be borne out over time. D. Katz Fleet. Hi, Chris. Hello. I'm sorry I botched your German handle. Joaquin Varela. Hey, Chris, how do you stay connected to what normal people are thinking around politics? What's breaking through and not getting swept up by whatever is the current news? It's hard. I do my best, but I've said this before. People ask, like, how do you do what you do? I every day try to think, okay, what are people talking about on the political internet or the internet more generally or culture more generally? And then do I have something that I can add to that or something interesting to say about that? Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. And that's kind of how I kind of approach it. I think there are some things I wrote yesterday in my Substack about algorithms and how algorithms know more about us than we might even know about ourselves. It didn't do that well. People weren't super interested in it, I guess, but I wanted to write it and I thought it was important. So I did it. So I try to balance between things I know that people are talking about and interested in and things I have like something to say about. I hope that makes sense. Rich Roma. Hey, Chris, what's your take on Trump's recent comments about keeping home prices up? He's openly campaigned on reducing prices in the 24 election. Yeah, he said that in Iowa. I mean, what he's saying is he wants your home value, I think, to be high. He doesn't want to make people's homes be worth less. But when he says he wants to bring home prices up, he's not saying it right? He means home values up, but he wants to make houses more affordable to buy, but he's not saying it well at all. Mo Coffee. Thanks for doing this. I never used the internet for any purchases. I'm a 20th century geezer. Okay. That's life. I get it. Let me reset because we're about 30 minutes in. A couple quick things. One, if you didn't see what I had to say about Don Lemon, it is at the top of this first 6 minutes or so. I'm happy to address it in other questions, but I basically gave my shtick on it. Two, if you want to get more of me, more videos than you get as just being a regular subscriber, go to the membership tab. My membership tier is $6.99 a month, $6.99 a month. It's called the Diamond Club. You get guaranteed every week 2 more videos. My hour-ish long podcast every week with Chuck Todd. It's a video and audio. You also get every Friday my Worst Week in Washington video where I tell you who had the worst week in Washington and explain why. Hopefully you'll get a few other videos throughout the week. This week I did an interview with Rachel Bade, another independent journalist. We talked about the media. We talked about Trump. We talked about Minnesota. We talked about Kristi Noem. So check that out if you want to support what I do. Let's see. Greg Anderson. Hey, Chris, what do you think about ICE going over to Italy to guard the U.S. Embassy and try to go into Ecuador consulate in Minneapolis? I did see something about that they were going to Italy with the Milan Cortina games coming up. I honestly don't know enough about it, to be honest, but it's strange. Massimo Milano, what are your thoughts on a potential deal and or military attack on Iran? I don't know the honest truth about it. I mean, I would be surprised if the U.S. went back into Iran militarily. Potential deal, who knows? I mean, I think we've been talking about potential deals for years through many administrations. We'll see. Bobby Irish, absolutely love your blinds though, bro. Yeah, those are plantation shutters. Yeah, we got those when we moved in. Leo Sofer, what is the greatest Senate race of all time? So, you know, people have differing opinions. The one I always go to, 1984, Jesse Helms, North Carolina Republican senator against sitting Democratic Governor Jim Hunt. The race cost like $20 million, I think, which in like modern terms is like 200 million. Amazing race. But I could do a thing on best Senate races ever. Would people want videos on that where I like broke down a Senate race each time? I am definitely, I think starting next week, going to start doing my unsung presidents videos where I talk about a president who you may not have thought was anything or you hadn't heard of or you forgot about, and they actually did some interesting things. I'm going to make some videos on that. But if people would be interested in Senate race videos, I'd be happy to do that too. Golf King 3447, welcome to the Diamond Club. Thank you. I'll give you my my best. Welcome. Thank you for being a member. Other people want to be a member, go to the membership tab in my channel. RMH Stuba. Chris, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Very much appreciated. Again, it all goes to me being able to do this stuff. Chris, what are your thoughts on the possible government shutdown? So I thought we had a deal last night between Chuck Schumer and Trump, but now Lindsey Graham is like blocking it over his ability to sue Jack Smith for it's very complicated, but I think Lindsey Graham will probably give that up. The question is the House is not in right now. So if the Senate changes some stuff with the funding bill of DHS, the House has to come in and approve that version before Trump can sign it into law, which could mean that we have a brief shutdown. They could pass some kind of stopgap thing that just gets us through the weekend. I don't think it's going to be an extended shutdown because I don't think it serves either side to have an extended shutdown. But, maybe we get in a kind of a technical shutdown for a little while. Hazel Braithwaite. I'm not sure that the aim by Trump is to really have these people prosecuted. I think the aim is to inflict as much pain as possible to make them spend lots of money on legal fees. You may not be wrong about that. I think he wants to use the tools available to him, and he views the Department of Justice as one of those tools to make life uncomfortable for a Don Lemon or a Jim Comey or a Letitia James or a John Bolton or an Adam Schiff. Yeah, I think that's really, really a smart observation. I think that's right. And if they get convicted, all the better in Trump's eyes, but it's probably not the end goal. Noah Khan, not that Noah Khan. Have you noticed, thank you for supporting independent journalism, my friend. Have you noticed that left-wing independent journalists on YouTube are starting to give into the sensationalism that plagues legacy media? How do we fix that? Well, so Noah, one of the problems is that sensationalism sells, right? Sensationalism drives subscriptions. Sensationalism drives eyeballs, clicks, and that's what's hard is it's way more financially smart as an independent journalist to say, this is fascism than it is to be I think it is dangerous to arrest someone like Don Lemon, particularly when legal experts have looked at this and said he shouldn't be arrested. At the same time, I think it is also a worthy conversation about what did he do? Is he a journalist? Is he not? It's a complex issue. There's a lot of gray area. It's way easier to be this is fascism, or Don should be arrested and jailed tomorrow, right? And so it's the incentive structures that are screwed up. And that's what I'm trying to address. And that's why I want people to support people like me. Even if you don't support me, support other people who are trying to call balls and strikes, doing their best to navigate this, not both sidesing it, but doing their best to not just say, oh, this is a Republican idea, it's bad, or Donald Trump is doing it, it's bad. But yeah, it's hard. John C., someone on YouTube is using your content. My messages are being removed. Are you seeing these? John, yes. As I mentioned before, I'm aware of it. I filed a copyright infringement thing with YouTube, so hopefully it works. Joe Rule, I love you, Chris. I love the bark. Oh, don't see anyone beating JD on the left. JD is building a monster behind the scenes. Would love to know your thoughts. I think JD Vance is probably a slight favorite against any of the Democrats in 2028. The only caveat I would put on that is I think it's possible Trump's numbers, I made a video about this week, that they go down significantly, that the immigration thing is kind of a breaking point for at least some part of his base, and that he's in the 30s in terms of job approval. That would be a little harder for Vance because it's going to be hard for him not to run as Trump's acolyte. But running as Trump's acolyte when Trump has 35% approval is not great. But yeah, I agree. I think he's underestimated candidate. Elijah Denton, do a poll about barking after the Diamond Club. So I'm not going to do a poll on that because it would probably lose. And I like to bark when someone becomes a member of the Diamond Club because I think it's funny because Diamond Club, Diamond Dogs, Ted Lasso, right? John Rowland, not that John Rowland, former governor of Connecticut. You do an excellent, who's a member of the Diamond Club, by the way, not John Rowland, the governor of Connecticut, this John Rowland. John, you do an excellent job. Never miss a video. Do you first see more and more GOP rank and file congresspersons standing up against Trump and his insane excesses? A little bit. Probably a little bit more between now and November, but not a huge amount. I would say if Republicans get swamped in the midterm elections, which I think there's a very real possibility they do, then and Trump is in the 30s in approval and Trump blames everyone but himself, I could see more people jumping off the boat at that point. I don't think they will now because I think they're still scared of him. Until he loses his ability to beat you in a primary, people are still going to stay on board. Let's see. 4am Pizza. It seems that Trump chose Kevin Warsh as the Fed chair based on his appearance. Trump makes a lot of decisions based on appearance. I think he did say that Warsh, who's the new Fed chair, or will be the new Fed chair when Jerome Powell's term ends in May, I think, that he's straight out of central casting. Trump loves the central casting thing. He likes people who look the part. There is no question about it. Ashish Drew, member of the Diamond Club. Do you think the Republican coalition of evangelicals, business, hawkish foreign policy will fracture? Do Democrats have a chance of including any of them in their big tent approach? I mean, I would say that, like, I'm not even sure that that's the Republican coalition anymore, to be honest. I mean, foreign policy hawkishness, Donald Trump isn't that much of a foreign policy hawk. And J.D. Vance, who's the likely Republican nominee in 2020, definitely is not a foreign policy hawk. The business community, I think, hates tariffs that Trump is doing. And then the evangelical community, it feels like a totally different animal than it was 10 or 15 years ago. Right? Like, they've accepted a guy who's been twice married and divorced and married a third time and has said all these things about women. And, he's loosely affiliated with religion, if at all. So I don't know. I don't feel like that coalition exists anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Noah Khan, one more question. And Noah, thank you for your donation. Noah says, I disagree that JD has an advantage. I think Trump, with his more divisive ideas like tariffs, is poisoning the Republican brand. Like I said, I think that is a possibility. The question is like, I don't think Republicans are, even if Trump is at 35% approval, I don't think the Republican Party in 2028 is going to nominate someone who's like anti-Trump, I'm trying to think who's a good example, like Liz Cheney, you know what I mean? Adam Kinzinger. I think they could nominate someone who is like, okay, Trump had some good ideas, but he really lost the plot. And this is going to be Trump 2.0. That's obviously not going to be JD. So that is the path for someone who's not JD Vance. Trump adjacent, Trump supportive, but saying we need to move on from Trump. That's a really good point. Thank you, Noah. Let's see. Ben Padavina. Hey, Chris, I worry with the Olympics and the World Cup coming up, America pride is down because of perceived negative actions of the administration. How can people separate support for country from support for this administration? Yeah, I think that could be a thing. No question, Ben. We'll see. We got the 250th anniversary of the country coming up too. So, if there's going to be a rally around the flag effect, you would think it would happen this summer. Phil McCracken, I see what you did there. Member of the Diamond Club. Do you think we will ever escape the politics of one party becoming favorable simply because the other side has become less so? Or is that inherent part of our democracy? Yeah, I feel like in the kind of the bifurcated system that we live in, it's kind of like, do you want this or do you want this? And if you don't want this, you're getting this. Is there a possibility of a third party? Sure. But man, you got to build it from the bottom up or not the top down. Starting at the presidential race to build a third party, to me, is very, very stupid. I think you have to start at the state legislative level, city council level, build the roots of a party before you try to build the tree. Antonino 1521, if the 2020 election was tomorrow, who wins? I think probably JD Vance. Rampaging Pickle. Yes, I'm one of those people who wants the center to hold. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Appreciate it. Robert McLean says F1 was actually quite good. I put that in the potential I may watch list. Connie Greiner. I'm a paid subscriber on your Substack. Do I need to join the paid tier on YouTube also? No, you definitely don't need to join the paid tier unless you want more videos. Connie, I would say you're getting most of my content as a paid subscriber on Substack. If you want to support me, obviously I would love to have it, but you probably don't need to do both. Incredible says, just hopping in, we're doing movie reviews. Yes, I broke it down. Let's see. Richard Gotcha, thank you for your donation, Richard. Who's going to win the Royal Rumble this weekend? Oh, I don't know. I know it's in Saudi, right? Let me know what you guys think. Who you think will win. I'm fascinated. I love the Royal Rumble. Matt Davidson, realtor. Thank you for donation. Matt says, did you hear Katherin O'Hara died? No, I didn't. I mean, she's amazing. My wife and I were just, she died at 71. Oh gosh, that's awful. No. I mean, she's amazing in Schitt's Creek, obviously, but I would say my favorite role of hers is in Home Alone, the original Home Alone. She's the mom in Home Alone. Kevin! Oh, that's so sad. She's awesome. Gosh. Let's see. Jerry Calderon, did you happen to read George Will's latest article creating the new buzzword loutocracy? No, but I will read it. I used to work for George Will when I was in college. Michael Wade, member of the Diamond Club. If Graham Plattner does well and wins in the main Senate race, could he be a 28 contender? I think he could be the future of the party. 28 might be a quick turnaround for Graham Plattner if he does win, beats Janet Mills in the primary and then beats Susan Collins. But I agree. If he wins that race, if he wins the primary, wins the general election, he is absolutely someone that could be a future star in the party. No question. Ankeny Fanatic. Trump is mad that Bad Bunny is the halftime performer instead of Lee Greenwood. I saw that he doesn't like Bad Bunny being the performer. Dumb. Who cares, man? Let's see. Just going through. RSS says Trump is always mad about something. True. Brian Verhey. If you need a political nerd for a referral partner in Washington State, let me know. Yes, that's great. Rip Katherin O'Hara. Yeah, that is awful. Pocket Watch says, count me pro barking, though it reminds me of Arsenio Hall. Haven't watched Ted Lasso yet. You got to watch Ted Lasso. The Diamond Dogs. They're amazing. Oh, gosh. Let's see. Joe Rule, thoughts on if Harris should run for 28? If she doesn't and doesn't make it out of Iowa, would it destroy her future complete embarrassment? I don't know. I think she thinks she should run. I think it's a mistake. I think her best day in the race would be the first day in the race. I think her polling is inflated just based on name ID at this point. Like, people know her name. I don't think that means people are going to vote for her. So I don't know. I think she shouldn't run, but I think she is going to run. Does that make sense? Let's see. Dan W., member of the Diamond Club. Dan says, did you see Benfica's last second goal in the Champions League? Of course I did. They needed a goal against Real Madrid to move on and got it with their goalie also here for the dog bark. Yeah. The goalie in the 98th minute came up for Benfica, headed a goal in that they needed to make it into the final 16. Incredible. And people say soccer is boring. Come on, man. It was incredible. Krusty Duh Clown. Which traditional blue state is close to turning red and which traditional red state is close to turning blue? I don't know if it's close, but I would say Minnesota is the state that has consistently voted for Democrats at the presidential level. That's gotten closer and closer. Trump almost won it in 2016. Biden won it by 7 or 9 in 2020. And then Trump only lost it by 4 in 2024. So that's on that one. On the blue state turning redder, a red state turning bluer, Texas, Arizona, although, Arizona did go for a Democrat at one point, Biden in 2020. North Carolina would be in there. Yeah, I think those are them. Let's see. Elliot Olshansky. Hello, Elliot. Elliot says, on the subject of the Rumble, and yes, it is in Riyadh, do you think AJ Styles calls it a career this weekend, or is it too obvious since we know he's retiring this year? Oh, I think he could call it a career. This is a huge event. By the way, Royal Rumble is the best event. It's better than WrestleMania. The 30 guys in one ring, it's incredible. So good. Catherine Wood says, I love the bark. And Catherine's a member of the Diamond Club. Catherine, you know what that means. Martin Dim says, I love the bark. The bark somehow is really kicking ass. Kilroy, is the model that you, Don Lemon, Nate Silver, etc., the future of how we will consume our news versus the mainstream media? It's a future, I think. I think Nate and I do similar things. Don does something a little different. I think Nate is generally not particularly partisan. I mean, Don is a partisan. Like, he doesn't like Donald Trump. His coverage is all anti-Donald Trump for the most part. I haven't seen all of it, but he also does journalistic things. He interviews people. He talks to people who don't always agree with him. So it's a hard line, but I think that Nate and I are more similar, and Don is kind of in his own world, but they probably are all covered by this new world of journalism. I don't know that we are the only future. I think it is a future, though. Yes. Ludicar, I don't think JD Vance is as popular as you may think. I really think Gavin Newsom would clean his clock in a debate. Maybe, but I would note that JD Vance cleaned Tim Walz's clock in the VP debate. I mean, he housed him. Now, I think Gavin Newsom's more talented than Tim Walz as a politician and a better debater probably, but still. Last couple. Cormac Mac Angusa. Correct. Yeah, I screwed that up. Hey, Chris, what do you think about Jasmine Crockett's MAGA-ish following? The comments under your video about her were filled with accusations of racism and misogynism. I know. I don't understand this. Like, I think it's okay to criticize someone who's a black woman and not be a racist or hate women. I'm not a racist and I don't hate women at all. But I think Jasmine Crockett could have problems in a general election. It's the same thing when I criticize Kamala Harris. I try to do it in a thoughtful way about why I don't think she was a good candidate, but people still it's just so easy to label you as that. I think it's dangerous when we do that. Just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't make them a racist or a misogynist. Richard Godshaw, thank you for continuing to do these. Your content is just great. Thank you. Dragonfire says, I love O'Hara in the Beetlejuice movies. Yes, totally agree. Dave Mannery. Chris, do you consider Amazon buying the Melania doc a way to get on Trump's good side? Probably. $40 million for that doc and $20 million in advertising for it. I just don't think there's that. I don't think there's that much of an audience. Dan Good, who is a member of the Diamond Club. If you can afford it, join the Diamond Club. It's worth the price. Just this week, Chris had great conversations with Chuck Todd, Lisa Miller, and Rachel Bade from the DC Huddle. And I posted my worst week in Washington this week. So you got 4 extra videos this week. You'll always get at least 2 if you're a member of the Diamond Club. If you haven't joined yet and you want to and you're interested, go to the membership tab. All right. I'm going to stop there. Thank you all, as always. An absolute pleasure to go through this. Thank you for supporting me, whether that just means hitting thumbs up, which I hope you do if you have not done on this video, whether that's becoming a subscriber, whether it's becoming a member of the paid tier of the Diamond Club, whether it's going over to YouTube, checking out my content over there. You can become a paid subscriber there or a free subscriber there, or go to buymeacoffee.com and make a donation. I've gotten several of those this week. It all goes to independent daily analysis of the world of politics. That is what I am absolutely invested in doing every day. I am here making videos, writing, trying to contextualize, explain, analyze the world of politics. I can't make you subscribe, but I think you should subscribe to someone or some ones who are doing that, because I think it's a critically important thing as we enter this. We're already in this election year. I think it's only going to matter more. So thank you for everyone who supports me. Thank you for my Diamond Club members. I'll give you one last take good care, be safe, take care of yourselves, maybe take care of one other person while you're at it, maybe a few, and I'll see you next week. Thanks as always for your support. Take care.